One thing that I caught online the other day that I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit was this new uh, online movie called Zeitgeist, and it's a it's a very interesting, nearly 2 hour online movie, and I would highly recommend it. I also highly disagree with the movie, but I would highly recommend it if you have a couple hours of your time. I'll post a couple links um, up on this YouTube video, and you can check it out at zeitgeistmovie.com, I think it is. And um, I've also put up a link for the a video that a YouTube video that debunks the first part of the first section. Um, Basically, the idea of Zeitgeist is there's 3 sections. The first is um, uh, focuses on religion, Christianity especially, and kind of takes it on a thingy. Um, it's a oh yeah, okay. Well, they're all conspiracy theories. That's where I was going with it. And the first one is that Christianity is mostly related to the zodiac, and most of the Christian stories, including Jesus' birth, death, resurrection, ascension, are all related to the zodiac. That Moses and the Ten Commandments are related to the zodiac, and that um, they are related to other pagan religions. They're also related related directly to the zodiac. And the second section um, talks about 9/11 conspiracy theories, and the third section is federal bank conspiracy theories. And there's some stuff in there that I think can be agreed with, but mostly it's junk. And I thought I'd give you guys a couple quotes, just things to think about. If you're not going to see the movie, that's fine. I would recommend seeing the movie. And here's why I think you should see the movie is because hundreds of thousands, I just spit, hundreds of thousands of people have seen this movie. Hundreds of thousands of people that haven't seen this movie will see it. International Zeitgeist Day is March 15th, 2008. They're trying to promote this worldwide. They already have, listen to this, they already have this movie, online movie, subtitled in English, French, Italian, Portuguese, Polish, Spanish, Greek, Romanian, German, Hungarian, Russian, Arabic, Japanese, Chinese, Czech, Finnish, and Slovenian, and they are working on more for a DVD. So that's why you should see it, is because hundreds of thousands of people have seen this, and many, many people agree, and many people who don't know any better are going to be convinced of many of these conspiracy theories. One thing that they talk about in terms of Christianity, I mean, that's obviously the part that kind of got on my nerves, is that it takes throughout the movie, it just takes things completely out of context, and presents them as truths. And I mean, that's what the whole movie is. It's completely half truths and things that are true but taken out of context so that they aren't really true, which would make them lies. Actually, is what it makes them. And one of the things that it talks about is, all right, this is a quote, direct quote. The narrator says that the Virgin Mary is the constellation Virgo, which so he's making the assumption here that the Virgin Mary represents the constellation Virgo, but he's saying that the Virgin Mary is the constellation Virgo, so he's taking the assumption to the next level and presenting it as a fact. And Virgo is Latin for maiden or virgin, and that's part of where he pulls his base from. He then continues and says that Virgo is also referred to as the house of bread. Then he continues and says Bethlehem literally means house of bread. So then he continues on these loose connections to say Bethlehem is thus a reference to the constellation Virgo. That's just completely assuming on these loose tangents, and then it's presenting as fact. The statement that they finish with is Bethlehem is thus a reference to the constellation Virgo, therefore being not a place on earth but a place in the sky. But the thing that ticked me off most in the religious part, I think, is how much scripture is taken out of context. It talks about Luke 22 verse 10. Read this real quick. Luke 22:10 says, "And he said to them," and this is Jesus speaking, "When you have entered the city, a man will meet you carrying a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house that he enters." Alright, and now this is a quote from the movie. "This scripture is by far one of the most revealing of all the astrological references. The man bearing the pitcher of water is Aquarius, the water bearer who is always pictured as a man pouring out a pitcher of water. Jesus is saying after the age of Pisces will come the age of Aquarius." So it's saying that Jesus is predicting an age that's coming in the future, and to quote that again real quick, it says that this scripture is by far one of the most revealing of all the astrological references in the Bible. Well, if you continue the passage 3 verses down, Jesus keeps talking about the man that they're going to find and the things that will be there. And then verse 13 says, "And they left and found everything just as Jesus had told them, and they prepared the Passover." So this is, in the context of Scripture, it's something that Jesus did predict or tell his disciples was going to be there, but in fact it came to pass. It's not something that is going to come to pass. And so Zeitgeist uses the scripture to present its case against Christianity, but in using scripture in its argument, it doesn't even use the full context of the scripture. You use the scripture for your argument, but then you're not gonna continue with the context of the passage, and I think that makes your argument pretty invalid. Something else that Zeitgeist talks about is some government conspiracy theories, which are pretty ridiculous. It claims that the government is responsible for getting the United States into both of the world wars, including the fact that the government is responsible for Pearl Harbor. It also blames the government for the sustaining of Vietnam and for the attacks on the World Trade Center in the 90s and on September 11th. Basically saying that our government, the U.S. government, is responsible for thousands of American deaths and other deaths abroad for basically financial purposes, which I think is ridiculous. Anyway, I gotta go. This video is run really long, but I would encourage you to see the 2-hour movie. Once again, the links are up on the side of the page, so I encourage you guys to check that out. I'm out.